Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us this morning for the monthly employment data release media call. My name is Emily Hetherington, and I serve as Deputy Director of Communications and External Affairs for FloridaCommerce. Joining me is Jimmy Heckman, Bureau Chief for Workforce Statistics and Economic Research. At the conclusion of this presentation, we will be taking questions from social media. To ask a question, please submit it through the Teams chat feature, since we will not be able to accept questions through a private chat. We will address as many questions as possible, but if your question is not covered, please email media@commerce.fl.gov, and our team will work to get you an answer. Today's presentation is focused on employment data for May 2024. If you have questions regarding other Florida Commerce topics, also use the media@commerce.fl.gov to connect with our communications and external affairs team. I will now turn it over to Jimmy.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you everybody for joining us today. At 10 o'clock this morning, the Florida Department of Commerce released May 2024 labor statistics for the state of Florida, as well as its sub-state areas, including all metropolitan areas, counties, and large cities. These data were produced by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics through a federal-state cooperative agreement with FloridaCommerce. These data were collected through a combination of employer and household surveys, administrative records, and statistical modeling techniques. Florida's unemployment rate, total labor force, and labor force participation rate are published under the Local Area Unemployment Statistics Program, using information collected by the Current Population Survey. These statistics are based on a survey of households, and they capture information about individuals as opposed to jobs, and they are calculated by place of residence as opposed to place of work. Florida's seasonally adjusted unemployment rate in May 2024 was 3.3%, unchanged from the previous month, and up 0.5 of a percentage point from May of last year. The national unemployment rate was 4.0%, up 0.1 of a percentage point from the previous month. Florida's unemployment rate is 0.7% lower than the national rate and has now remained lower for 43 consecutive months since November of 2020. Monroe County had the state's lowest unemployment rate at 1.9%, followed by Miami-Dade County at 2.2% and Okaloosa and Walton counties at 2.6% each. In May 2024, Citrus County had the highest unemployment rate at 4.5%, followed by Sumter and Highlands counties at 4.2% each, and Hardy and Hendry counties at 4.1% each. The unemployment rate of 3.3% in May 2024 represented 361,000 jobless individuals out of a labor force of 11,081,000. Total employment in May 2024 decreased by 14,000 or 0.1%, while unemployment remained unchanged. Florida's labor force of 11,081,000, which is composed of all currently employed workers as well as unemployed job seekers who are actively looking for work, decreased by 14,000 or 0.1% from the prior month. In this graphic, we see over-the-year percent change in Florida's labor force, shown in blue, compared to the United States labor force, shown in green. As of May 2024, Florida's labor force has grown by 0.9% over the year. This was faster than the national labor force growth rate of 0.5% over the same time period. Florida's over-the-year labor force growth has outpaced the national growth rate now since December 2020. Job creation data for Florida is derived from the Current Employment Statistics, or CES survey, conducted by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. The CES survey collects data from over 40,000 businesses and establishments each month to measure jobs by industry across the state. Since these statistics are based on a survey of employers, they measure counts of jobs as opposed to individuals, and they capture characteristics of employers such as industry and place of work. Total non-agricultural employment in Florida rose to 9,951,600 jobs in May 2024, up 6,000 jobs, or 0.1% from the prior month. This figure is up 222,200 jobs from 1 year ago, an over-the-year increase of 2.3%. Florida's private sector employment was 8,802,800 jobs in May 2024, up 7,300 jobs, or 0.1% from the prior month. Total private employment was up 192,600 jobs from May 2023, an over-the-year increase of 2.2%. 5 out of 10 major industry supersectors in Florida gained jobs over the month. Construction gained the most jobs, increasing by 5,500, or 0.8%, followed by education and health services, increasing by 2,700 jobs, or 0.2%, and trade, transportation, and utilities, adding 2,300 jobs, or 0.1%. Professional business services lost the most jobs over the month, declining by 3,100 jobs, or 0.2%, followed by information declining by 1,400 jobs, or 0.9%, and total government declining by 1,300 jobs, or 0.1%. In this graphic, we see the over-the-year change in employment by industry supersector between May 2023 and May 2024 in Florida, shown here in blue, compared to the United States, shown in green. The fastest growing Florida industries over the past year were construction at 4.4%, followed by other services at 3.8%, and education and health services at 3.5%. 6 major sectors outpaced national trends over the past 12 months. The top 3 sectors where Florida outperformed national growth the most were trade, transportation, and utilities, other services, and manufacturing. And as we look at these differences between Florida's growth, job growth, and national job growth, since it's important to remember that Florida's real GDP growth rate has outpaced the nation's growth rate really since 2019 in the past 5 years, and nearly doubled that rate. And that these differences in the industries that we see here really highlight the state's economic development strategy and the strategy that the governor has taken during his tenure. This map shown here shows the seasonally adjusted over the month job growth by local metro area in May of 2024. 15 of the 24 metro areas in Florida had over the month job gains. The Villages metro area grew at a rate of 0.5% in May of 2024, the fastest job growth among all Florida metro areas, followed by the Punta Gorda metro area at 0.4%, and the Sebastian Vero Beach, Orlando, Kissimmee, Sanford, West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, Delray Beach, Daytona Beach, Ormond Beach, and Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach, and Deerfield Beach metro areas at 0.3% each. The metro areas that added the most jobs in May were the Orlando, Kissimmee, Sanford area, growing by 4,100 jobs, the Miami Beach, Kendall area, and Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach areas, Pompano Beach, Deerfield Beach areas, adding 2,400 jobs each. And the West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, Delray Beach metro area, adding 1,900 jobs. The areas that lost the most jobs over the month were the Tallahassee area, losing 1,700 jobs, the Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Naples, Immokalee, Marco Island, and Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater areas, losing 400 jobs each, and the Gainesville area losing 200 jobs. And here we see the most recent job openings and labor turnover survey data for Florida. Please note that this slide reflects information for April 2024, which is the latest data available. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates that the number of job openings, shown here in blue, decreased to 520,000 in April 2024, an over-the-month decrease of 7,000, or 1.3%, and down 22.3% from 1 year ago. There were 301,000 quits, shown here in gray, in April of 2024, an over-the-month increase of 28,000, or 10.3%, and up 3.8% from 1 year ago. There were 407,000 hires, shown here in green, in April of 2024, an over-the-month decrease of 20,000, or 4.7%, and up 0.7% from 1 year ago. Thank you all so much for joining us for the FloridaCommerce rate release for May 2024. This concludes the presentation. I'll be happy to field any questions from credentialed media.
Okay, we have a question from Jim Turner. What do you consider the biggest factor or factors in the state holding steady? Are there any warning signs you see from these figures that officials should be watching?
Good morning, Jen, and thank you for your question. So really the biggest factor in the rate holding study this month is that we saw no change in the number of unemployed individuals statewide, which we had seen a few months of small upticks in that over the past few months. But this month we saw really no change, and we think that's an encouraging sign that as far as warning signs, I don't really take away any warning signs from the figures we released today. We're seeing a lot of really encouraging things, like we just went over the job openings survey, where we're seeing more than one job opening for every unemployed individual in the state. And we're seeing really encouraging numbers when we look at kind of the core labor force statistics of prime age workers that are participating in the labor force at near record highs at this point. So I don't think we see any warning signs as far as this month's release.
And then from Tom Urban, with construction jobs increases, what does that say for the overall job market in the state? And why do we continue to outpace the nation on jobs?
And thank you again, Tom, for that question. So when we think about construction jobs, that's one of the sectors that is really considered, a kind of a leading indicator or an important indicator as far as consumer demand, for really expensive purchases, right? Like housing or new construction. And so when we see that construction job number going up, that's a really encouraging sign. And when we see that, that really does dovetail with that trend of us outpacing the nation on job growth and labor force growth. And I think it all comes back to really strong demand for goods and services statewide, where we see those strong job openings numbers. We see really strong new business formation numbers with 3 million new business formations since 2019. So it really comes back to that strong demand for labor and for goods and services statewide.
This month's economic data comparisons also reflect the tales of two different leaders, President Joe Biden versus Governor Ron DeSantis. Again, thank you so much for joining us today for the May 2024 rate release. If you have any additional questions, please email media@commerce.fl.gov. We look forward to having you for our next rate release for June 2024 on July 19th, 2024. Thank you and have a good weekend.